It's 8 p.m. Friday night. The team at this closed-door restaurant in Buenos Aires is finishing off the final details while waiting for guests to arrive. This is Steak by Luis, which has earned a reputation for its 300-gram steaks and takes the name of the chef.
Buenas noches, bienvenidos a Steaks by Luis. My English is terrible, okay? Excuse me, it's very erratic English, I speak very, very bad. I speak in infinitive all night. Así que, Diego, translate for me.
I was invited to find out a little more about why this restaurant is proving so successful.
What are we going to have tonight? It's a traditional Argentine asado, okay? That's why you're here. And in asados, before steak, we usually have achuras.
Blood sausage is just one of the typical starters here.
Tira de asado, it's how Argentinians eat their ribs. So we have thicker bones, less fat, more meat. It's very flavorful as well.
As well as the ribs, we're promised a few surprises.
As surprises are surprises, first you eat and then you ask, okay?
Outside, Luis gets to work.
This is the really important place, no inside. Inside you have very much wine, very much company, and here you have the really experience. Salud. Bueno, salud a todos. You have the three surprises in one side. Mollejas, riñones, chinchulines. I recommend this with lemon. Please eat and enjoy.
Yeah.
So for starters, there's the provolone cheese, a lot of sausage and cuts of meat, and the surprises, kidney and sweetbreads, which can be something of an acquired taste. But the star of this show is the beef.
The steak, it's from one producer in Buenos Aires, in 100 kilometers to Buenos Aires. It's not 100% organic, but this is the best region for produce. Yeah, this is the best quality meat in Argentina.
This is the famed Argentine steak, which some people travel across the world just to sample.
Please check your cooking points and tell me. Yeah, it's good? I like this silence. Huh? It's my favorite silence.
This restaurant relies on word of mouth and its reputation to keep ahead in a competitive market.
You have a steakhouse basically on every corner in Argentina. The main issue that the tourist finds is that everyone would think that every single steakhouse is going to have amazing steak, and it's not like that. So actually to find those that are a step ahead of the others, it's a bit more difficult.
Here they pride themselves on the full Argentine experience. Guests at this restaurant are from across the world, and for many this type of evening is high up on the to-do list in Argentina.
It's something that you would never be able to experience unless you're with your own family, your own friends, and that is the asado here. It's the fundamental part of the family in Argentina.
The highlight of this evening was undoubtedly the steak. And as I was to find out, beef is not just a fundamental part of Argentine family life, but plays a vital role in this country's history, culture, and economy. It's Sunday morning in the south of Buenos Aires. This is Mataderos, a neighbourhood that takes its name from the many slaughterhouses in the area. Historically, this was a hub for Argentina's beef industry. Now, at weekends, it fills with locals and foreigners alike. Here, the cowboy tradition is kept alive. One of the most popular shows is this game, putting one of these into this, which may seem easy, but not when doing so from horseback while galloping.
De 8 al que más saca sortija, y es riesgoso, pero bueno, es la suerte de uno. Y es una tradición de hace 50 años que nosotros armamos acá. Te tiene que gustar, arrancamos a las 6:30 de la mañana. Bañar el animal, darle de comer, venir a armar todo esto. Que somos poca gente que arma todo esto. Es una tradición que se lleva en el alma. Te tiene que gustar.
So what we're seeing here is a part of Argentine culture that is still very much alive. This is the gaucho culture, which really has come to identify Argentina as much as the tango or football. The gaucho culture goes hand in hand with the tradition of one of Argentina's famous trademark products. The weekend bustle dies down during the week. When the show is over, Mataderos becomes a quiet residential neighborhood where the large numbers of tourists swap for even larger numbers of cattle. This market sets prices in Argentina for beef.
30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80.
Beef is still considered one of Argentina's highest quality products, but this is an industry that has fallen on hard times. Production has dropped dramatically in recent years, as Federico, who works in the industrial size scales, explained.
Los últimos 2-3 años se viene manteniendo, más o menos. Hace un tiempo atrás el mercado recibía una cantidad grande, recibía como más de 20.000 animales por día. Hoy está recibiendo aproximadamente entre 8 y 10.000, puede ser 12.000 también animales por día, pero no todos los días de la semana.
This market is working under capacity. Argentina's famed beef industry is undergoing major changes.
Vos tenés todo lo que es clásico de parrilla, el asado, la entraña, todo está ubicado entre la pata trasera y la pata delantera.
In the fashionable Palermo neighborhood in Buenos Aires, Hernan Mendez runs one of the city's top boutique butchers. Amongst their clients are steaks by Luis, where I'd sampled the produce.
No conozco otra parte del mundo donde se corten tantos pedazos la vaca. Para mí, acá han venido holandeses, norteamericanos, ingleses, identifican el bife de chorizo, el peseto y hasta ahí. Después todo lo demás es carne, así, carne, que puede ser picada, no lo tienen identificada. Cualquier cliente medio quiere un corte determinado.
The clientele at Hernan's Butchers pay for premium quality. This is a nation of meat eaters. Numbers have been falling as diets change, but on average, Argentines eat well over 50 kilograms of meat per person per year. Yet producers say the sector has suffered from government policies in recent years, particularly in the export market.
Hoy, en el lugar 13º. Hasta el 2005 era el tercer exportador de carnes del mundo. Estas son las consecuencias de una política antisectorial que se llevó adelante a partir de, digamos, del segundo mandato, del final del mandato de Néstor Kirchner y de los mandatos de Cristina.
In the sector, there's anger at policies of the former government, which favoured domestic consumption.
Esto es la revancha por la no aprobación de la 125. El campo fue el primer sector que le dijo no al kirchnerismo.
The 125 is the byword for the 2008 dispute, when the Kirchner government tried to introduce a sliding tax bracket for soy exports, which at the time would have increased taxes. The agro sector said they were being punished. There were many protests and the relationship was tense for many years. Beef production dropped off, with nearly 20% of the country's stock lost, around 10 million cattle in total. But that looks set to change because restrictions on exports have been lifted, taxes have been lowered, and everything points to this sector picking up once again. Upon winning the elections in December last year, Mauricio Macri's centre-right government introduced a shift in agricultural policies. So too, there was a 40% devaluation of the local currency. So while producers were planning to export once again, at the other end of the chain, changes had a negative effect. As this waiter at one of the most famous restaurants in Buenos Aires explained.
Al irse el dólar para arriba, al productor le conviene venderlo al exterior que vendérselo al pueblo argentino. Si lo vende al pueblo argentino, se lo tiene que vender al precio del dólar al exterior, lo cual provoca un aumento del precio de la carne. Hace 2 meses la carne valía 80 pesos el kilo, ahora está arriba de los 130.
Rising prices became so sensitive earlier this year that the agriculture minister suggested Argentines should boycott beef to push the price down. At restaurants, they said they see fewer clients and fewer tourists.
Sé que el producto terminado viene bien, es rico, a la gente le gusta y bueno, nosotros somos un país que comemos mucha carne. Así que bueno, bajar un poco por ahí no nos hace tan mal. Un poco de pescado, un poco de ensalada.
Argentines are eating less meat as tariff hikes and inflation are hitting hard. And although the government hopes to boost exports, not least to China, which has become the #1 buyer of Argentine beef in just 2 years, the reality is that recovery will take time.
La ternera que se retiene hoy nos va a dar un animal, una cría, en condiciones de ser mandada a una góndola o exportarse en las próximas elecciones presidenciales.
There are broader concerns about an industry and diet beyond whether exports increase and whether Argentines can still afford a weekend meat feast.
El 18% de las emisiones globales son de responsabilidad de la ganadería. En el caso de la Argentina, 28% tiene responsabilidad la agricultura y la ganadería. Y dentro de este sector agropecuario, el sector de la ganadería es el más importante por las emisiones de metano.
Guillermo Berra has studied the effects of cattle on climate change for decades at the National Agricultural Institute. He developed a system of catching gases to analyze their outputs. He calls them his backpackers.
Metano es un gas de efecto invernadero potente que tiene la capacidad de ser 23 veces más potente en efecto invernadero que es el dióxido de carbono. Argentina tiene que reducir sus emisiones de la misma manera que todo el resto del planeta. Recordemos que el cambio climático es responsabilidad de todos los países.
It is here where there's a proviso widely held in Argentina.
Es muy distinto la responsabilidad que tiene un país como Estados Unidos, que produce el 15% de las emisiones, a países como Argentina, que alcanzan solamente el 0.9% del total de las emisiones mundiales.
As well as growing international concern about climate change, this industry took another knock when the World Health Organization recently linked eating red meat to cancer.
Acá se consumen 56 kilos de carne por habitante por año y sí acompañamos las estadísticas de altos de cáncer de colon y de esos cánceres que desde hace mucho se sabe que van de la mano del consumo de carnes. Creo que Argentina, al igual que todo el mundo, tiene que hacer un paso hacia una dieta más racional.
Soledad Barruti wrote the book Malcomidos about the state of Argentina's agricultural sector and in particular intensive farming techniques such as feedlots.
Un feedlot es un lugar en donde los animales completan su engorde. Ahora uno tiene la idea de completan, pero no ganan 10, 15 kilos. Ganan 200 kilos, 300 kilos comiendo maíz, que es algo para lo que sus organismos no están diseñados y es algo que biológicamente les cuesta mucho. Se hacen engordar como pochoclos rápidamente con una batería de medicamentos que antes no estaban incluidos en nuestra dieta, como antibióticos, por ejemplo, como antiácidos.
Animal rights groups are trying to raise awareness about nutrition and the practice of large-scale agro-industry.
Un país donde gobierna el asado, juntarse para comer carne. Lo que tratamos de hacer es explicarle a las personas que hay alternativas.
As well as protesting large-scale farming, this organisation is campaigning for a vegetarian law which would oblige restaurants to offer alternative menus to customers.
Nos está llegando mails, mensajes desde todo el país, desde otros países, felicitándonos por nuestro trabajo, diciendo que hacía falta una organización así en Argentina.
So when we take into account a falling stock, rising prices, concerns about climate change and the alleged risks to personal health, maybe the panorama is not looking so positive. But there are alternatives which consider ethical techniques, which keep local jobs producing high-quality beef and that are environmentally friendly. This is the province of Sante Fe, a few hundred miles north of the capital. Here, the gaucho culture, which we had seen on show in Buenos Aires, is still a way of life for many rural workers. This is the picture postcard image of Argentina's famous industry. These South American grasslands are vital for biodiversity, but are threatened by large-scale farming.
En este punto del país hay registradas 250 especies, lo que equivale a decir que aquí tenemos un cuarto de la diversidad de aves de la Argentina.
Gustavo Marino is the president of Argentina Birds, an NGO, as well as the coordinator for the Grassland Alliance, which brings together conservationists and farmers from across the region.
La biodiversidad de las pampas está siendo afectada por el avance de los cultivos, las forestaciones, las urbanizaciones, y hemos estimado que el 55% de este hábitat ya se perdió.
This alliance is looking at ways to preserve this environment. One is using the land to produce premium organic grassland beef. Over 50 producers are members, maintaining traditional techniques. These farms have been passed down through generations. Marcial Buñón is a member of the Grassland Alliance and hopes to pass his farm to his children, just as he took on the family business from his parents.
El desafío es poder desarrollar un modelo de producción que sea compatible en lo productivo, con lo ambiental y con lo social. Fundamentalmente que sea sostenible.
These producers export to the European Union, and when we filmed here they were close to agreeing a deal with a major supermarket in Argentina as they adjust to the changes taking place under the new government.
La Argentina es un país de muchos cambios de lo que se llama reglas de juego. La forma que nosotros tenemos de afrontar con estos sistemas de producción es que son sistemas que primero están buscando un beneficio a mediano plazo y largo plazo, no en el corto.
Other producers we spoke to explained how traditional large-scale farming is biting into traditional pasture land, but they do hold on to one key selling point here.
La diferencia es cuando la pones en el plato. Uno que está acostumbrado por ahí diferencia la zona o lo que sale de firló o lo que se está haciendo a grano con respecto a lo que sale de pastura. No podemos vender todos los días la misma carne porque no es un enlatado que vos lo sacás todo idéntico, o sea, yo te vendo hoy 8 animales, y que es lo que trabaja en la carnicería nuestra, y la semana que viene son otros 8 animales, claro. Nunca tenemos lo mismo, pero la calidad por ahí se mantiene o los sabores de acuerdo a la pastura.
This meat is sold locally. What the Grassland Alliance has set up is a chain of production from cattle rearing all the way through to processing the meat and then onto the customers, while maintaining high quality. It's produced with traditional methods that care for the environment. This is an industry that provides jobs. It provides important income for the country, and perhaps more crucially, and despite the challenges it faces, it is a vital part of Argentine culture and identity.